Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again. We took a break for a couple of weeks. Let's call it a meditation retreat. No one actually did any meditating, but on today's episode, I'm really excited for this one. We have Brian Hecht, a friend, a colleague. He's from the Project Show. Brian, thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir. I'm honored you asked me to do this. I'm very happy about it.
Hey, no man, it's a pleasure. So, as we talked about a little bit before we got on camera, we spoke about that I consider you an artist. And it looked like it was a surprise for me from your facial expressions. Tell us what you do.
Certainly a surprise, because I've never heard it considered in that way, and it really pleases me to hear that. So I'm sales director for Project Trade Show. I've done it for about 4 years now. But I thought that was quite an honor for you to call it an artist, because I understand exactly what you're saying. So yeah, it's for lack of a better word, honored again to hear that.
I think it's this welcome midpoint. I think what's crazy with what you do and with especially the title sales is it's abrasive.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely.
I was watching something the other day. It was some movie where someone talked about. Oh, it was this movie I went to a premiere of. It was a movie about Molly Pickford. She helped start United Artists with Charlie Chaplin.
Okay.
Right? And the guy who she married talked about how he was a salesman before he started acting and used to sell soap. And he used to bite the soap to show it was pure. So I think part of the reason why I consider what you do to be an art, to be artistry, is that I think you're quite cognizant of human behavior. Has that always been a thing?
It's always interested me. I care about people, and I care about the people that I work with.
Sure.
And yes, when I hear the term salesman, to me, it's also a bad word.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I just immediately think selling cars.
Yeah.
And if you really want to know what is my job is to sell booths. That sucks. There's nothing fun about that. It's not sexy. It's not cool. But the way to effectively do what we need to do for the company and the powers that be is to better understand the people that we're working with and actually help them and not put band-aids on something. It's to first listen and then address their concerns and figure out how you can best aid in their success, and that's how we can all accomplish goals together.
I think that's good, but I think you hit it with a lot of finesse. Because when you found the Rat Black Kids, mm-hmm. This was completely a surprise to me. I didn't even think with the level of doing shows, and it seemed like you did a lot of feeling out. What is it to you that makes a brand? You realize that a brand is at the level that they should get to. You know, like the shows and into booths. Like, how do you do that?
Well. First of all, I don't necessarily view it as feeling out. The way that I saw it was to first hear where you're coming from, better understand the goals that you guys have, and then consider myself, do we have a platform that can actually support you? Mm. When we first met via Instagram, it was like I wasn't even thinking, hey, let me make friends and then maybe we'll work together in a few years. I was intrigued by what you were doing. I liked the message and I respected it. And I just wanted to better understand where you were coming from. At that time, I didn't necessarily feel that it was opportune for you to work with us quite yet.
Sure.
And I don't think it was. I think that's why it took a little bit of time. And that's why I wasn't calling you saying, hey, Tuan, are you coming to the show? Are you going to do this?
Yeah,
you going to do that? Like, no. It's, you knew what we were doing. You understood the platform. And when we finally did come out with something that I knew you could benefit from, that's when I called you up. I'm like, hey, now is the time. And immediately, right when we went to lunch, I didn't have to follow up with you or anything like that. You're like, I'm in. And it was just like, that was, I think that we both had this understanding where you knew that I was coming from a place where I had the confidence to come to you and say, hey, I'm ready to help you as my friend. if I'm wrong about this, you may view me differently after that. And that was the one thing that I cared about the most, was first our friendship. I don't want to come to my friend and pitch them something that they could lose all their money on, or the investment didn't make sense. And so that's why it's you just want to be very careful, especially when you're talking to friends. And most of the people in this space and within the community that you've exhibited in, they are personally my friends.
Which is brilliant, I think. There's something we have to go into. Let's backtrack. I want you to tell everyone where you're from. Where'd you grow up?
Originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Grew up in Sarasota, Florida. Moved out to LA about 12 years ago.
How old are you when you moved out? You don't mind me asking.
I was 20, maybe 24. 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did grow up in this business as well.
Ah, okay. Yes, your dad was a brand owner and designer.
Yeah. My dad and stepmom. So,
okay.
Grew up with them, going to all the different trade shows, and that was the most exciting time of the year for me, when they would invite me to the trade show to work in their booth, and do sales presentations where I would sweat like crazy and get nervous as hell. But yeah.
I'll be frank. I almost jumped out my chair when I found out you're from Atlanta, because I grew up in Zimbabwe, and I have this objective idea of what people from the South are like, and specifically the racial dynamics. And this is what I think I found the most intriguing, was you like the message of a company called the Rat Black Kids. And I think the reason why I had you talk about where you're from is because I think there's a lot of things here with identity and equal representation. Are you working towards that? Like, what's the story there for you?
Wow, that's that never crossed my mind, but I actually think that you're probably right about that. I think that we take little pieces from everywhere we've lived, and that's what makes the person who they are today. So I think, yeah, absolutely. Having been in Atlanta and being exposed to multiple different ethnicities, it's not something that crosses my mind by any means at all.
Sure.
But I think that for most people in the country, it probably is something that they would be cognizant of.
But you're opening doors. I mean, like, when I look at the breakdown, I think one of the most difficult things about America is, where I grew up, my dad was an engineer. He ran half the city's power. My mom was a nurse. She was the head nurse of the state. And this was a recently independent country, and we grew up in our own version of apartheid that ended in 1979. And so if you can imagine, there were, like...
I can't imagine this. This is something I've never experienced.
So
but yeah, tell me.
It's like when they were in their 30s and the 80s. So this is like only a few years after. And so when I look at the demographics of the show floor and the space that you're selling boots in, it's very representative of the America we live in now in terms of population. You have people represented from so many races. I found that to be pretty... something that, as I find that to be frank, it's completely alien to the American contemporary aesthetic of like better. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like America isn't really open to everybody in terms of making your life better.
Right.
So does that matter to you? That idea of everyone having that equal opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. It's extremely important. That's how our country was founded. That's how our country started, and that's the way it absolutely should be.
Right.
So it's very cool that you even see that within our fashion apparel platform. It just makes sense, and it's a very cool way to think about it like that. And I appreciate you bringing that to my attention too.
No, it's okay. It's just more like, we're talking about, I'm looking for a new place. And, I remember when I moved to New York. So in Zimbabwe, we lived on the east side of town. And that's where there weren't a lot of black people that lived on the east side of town. More black people lived on the west side of town. But my parents, we grew up on a big piece of land, not just in a predominantly black part of town. So I grew up with this idea that we're in this post-racial society when I moved to New York, I remember realizing no black person lived close to the school, and I had to live 25 miles out. Number one was because of cost. Number two was one of the richest zip codes in the country. But I think I started realizing that there's a lot of racial dynamics at play, even in LA, of where you live and what it is that you do. When I started looking for a job after I finished, finding a job, there was so much research. It was tough. I ended up doing this because finding work was really, really tough. And so to see that there's this world where it's almost like you're curating this world where it doesn't really matter, I think it must say a lot that all those things don't seem to have affected you.
It's the best way to eliminate all these racial barriers is obviously to bring everybody together. And you can view it as when you bring people from certain communities together and they start producing children, then you have mixed race babies, which is a great thing.
Right.
The way that we can actually look at it, now that you're bringing it to light to me, is we bring all these people together in the fashion community, and hopefully, well, actually, what I've seen, you've started to work with these other people.
Of course.
And so you guys are making your own apparel babies, if you will, that come from all these different parts of the world and different parts of the country, and that's a very cool thing. It's an odd way to look at it, but that's what it is to me.
I think you're completely right in the sense that even the connections that are made, I wonder if we didn't have that platform. Because what you're doing in that Project Now section is, I think you've created a platform. And within this platform now, people are connecting on these connections that are starting to transcend that. Mm-hmm. For example, I was asked to write my first piece for a magazine.
Okay.
By someone who knows Lucas and Mike. Shout out to Mike and Lucas.
Hey, the homies!
The homies. They introduced me to someone virtually who became someone I started, we became Instagram friends. Uh-huh. Then she reached out to me to write an article for this magazine. So the interesting part is there's been this cacophonous effect. I like that word. There's been this effect of now we're not only birthing these apparel babies, but we're birthing these connections.
Yep.
You know?
And this platform, not to keep plugging now, but
it's okay.
The platform is conceived in a very strategic manner. Although we're all there with the homies in the daytime and it's like, hey, come out tonight, let's go here, let's go there, let's do this.
Sure.
It is all a thing that we conceived as a sales director, and then Jason Peskin, shout out Jason, our brand director as well.
Yeah.
But these things are there to get you guys to collaborate. And you may have seen what I've seen as well. After the shows each days, that's when the real collaborations happen. That's when everyone lets their guard down and cheers beer with one another. And actually, you have a real conversation, not a forced conversation, where has to be transactional because you're on the show floor and you have to get ROI and all this and that. No, everybody's human. Everyone wants to hang out. At the end of the day, everyone has the same interest. Everyone just wants to be happy and vibe with one another. So that's why we try to create this 360-degree all immersive experience, because that is the true way that you're actually going to make friends with these guys and immerse them into your life. It's not just on the show floor. It's building a real relationship and a real friendship off of the show floor. And if we can do our part and facilitate that in any possible way, that's pretty dope.
I'm going to ask you a question that's going to seem like it's out of left field, but what was your social life like? Like if we say between ages of 5 to 18?
Oh, man. Social life has always been immensely important for me.
Really?
I have to have social interaction at our office. We can... It's pretty lenient as long as you're doing your job. Some people work from home. Some people work from the coffee shop, whatever it is. I like to be in the office.
Okay.
I like to have the interaction with my teammates. But sorry, to answer your question, back when I was younger.
Okay. No, sure. This is your space. You talk about anything you feel like. This is you.
My social life when I was younger, my parents always suggested that I host the party at my house. And the reason was so they would know where I am at the time. They weren't even worried about anything else. They're like, we just want you to know that you're safe. So if you want to host the party over here, you host the party over here. So I would always have all the homies at my spot. Like my house was the party house, and we all lived in the same neighborhood. But yeah, we would get together with the guys and the girls multiple times a week.
So you've been event planning for years.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but
Yeah.
but no, I appreciate learning from people, and just getting to know them. And actually, it's when I say I appreciate learning from people. If my mom listens to this, she's going to get mad for me actually saying this. But
No, please.
My mom, jokingly, maybe, would always say that I was the token dummy of the group. It was because all of my friends have always been, they've been so smart. Like I've always surrounded myself with very smart people for the most part, and they're far smarter than me, Mr. Tulani. And
That's all a show.
yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is all a show.
yeah, and yeah. So yeah. I hope that answers the question.
No, I mean it does, because I think the thing that's surprising is that you genuinely have a relationship with everyone on this floor. Like I think it's really a thing of beauty, and I hope everyone who sees you at like the trade show will just watch the way you move, because it's like you have this thing that you build in with everybody where it's not you know substantially enough about these people, but you seem to care substantially enough about them. And I hope that this is going to be a TED Talk for some people who are in quote-unquote sales, because the way you move around a shop floor is you can tell that you know this person from here and this is the context. You know this person from here and this is the context. So you create so many of these contextual conversations within people that even when you're able to connect them together, there's this guy that you know from this context explicitly. You know this guy from this context explicitly. So when they finally meet, it's almost like you know how to put them together. And so I think that thing with the parties, I think in a way you might have had your 10,000 hours doing that, right?
Yeah, 100%. And even in college, I had a douchebag job. I was a club promoter.
You were a club promoter.
I was a club promoter.
Really? Let's talk about that. Why club promotion? Why did you go there?
Because I had some buddies that that owned the company and were involved in it, and when you're in college, like, yeah, it's fun. It's pretty
Right.
cool. Like, you go out, get your bar tab picked up, you get to get drinks for
Of
whoever, and it's
course.
on the club promotion company, and
Yeah.
it was a cool and fun thing. But one thing that I had to learn how to do back at that time was every single person that I would invite to the club, that we would talk about, hey, we have these plans on Saturday night, Friday night, whatever it may be. All of these people that I would invite out, I definitely had to make sure that I spend time with them while they're actually at the club. Like,
Sure.
I invited them out, and I don't know whether they came there for me or whether they came there for whatever it was, but you got to spend time with them. Like, they came out to support me, so I want to be there for them as well. It's a nice thing when someone actually says, okay, yeah, I'll go out to hang out with you. You don't have to pay me to do that. Like, it's like, oh, wow, cool. Thanks for coming to hang out with me and support my business. And so I always wanted to show the respect to those people that would show me the same respect.
So then we look at this as chapters. So in chapter 1, there's 5 to 18. You're hosting these parties. Your buddies live in the same neighborhood. What do you say is what do you draw away from that? And with this next chapter that we call the club promotion days, what 2 lessons, or even however many lessons, do you pick up from both?
I would say just important lessons are, don't do something if you don't truly love it. And if I would host a party at my house or something, it's because we're having a good time. Like, getting to hang out with the friends. Like, who doesn't want to do that?
Right.
Like, so that was something that I enjoyed. And then being a club promoter too, it's like, if I didn't truly enjoy hanging out with these people, it's gonna show. And they're not gonna want to come hang out with me. Like, if we're having forced conversations, that's like, all right, what am I doing here? Sitting here rolling my eyes. Like, who wants to do that? that's not fun. And so at the time, I just really loved what I was doing. And right now, the position that I have now is truly a dream position for me. To be able to work with people like you and Mike that you mentioned before, and just all these different showrooms and brand owners, like, this is the job that I've actually, job is a bad word. This is the career. This is the life that I've worked up to and chosen, and I love every second of it. And it's just a blast to be able to understand entrepreneurs like yourself and if I can in any way aid in your success.
I think it's also the intuitiveness. I think you have this intuition where I think this is that artistry of it. I think you have this intuitiveness where you understand value. So the first show we talk about it, you let me know High Snob is going to be there. Mm-hmm. How did you know that mattered to me? Did you know that was the first magazine I actually tried to advertise in?
No, I absolutely did not know that.
That was the first go around. That was the first media packet I ever requested from anyone. Not even Hypebeast, nothing. It was High Snob. Like in 2014, February 10th is the first media packet I looked for. How are you so astute to that?
I would say, well, let's keep the shout-outs going. The homie Peter Benedicto.
Peter!
back in the day when we were working at Project together, I think, and I hope I'm not mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that Peter was one of the people that suggested High Snobiety as a possible media partner for us at first. As we're such a big company, things take a very long time to actually bring to fruition. So finally, when Jason was able to move into the position that he's in right now, collectively, we were able to get High Snobiety on board because we knew that is a media partner that our generation and a certain sector of the market that we had been targeting would relate to. And like I said, like we were homies before, and I was homies with most of these guys before, but we didn't have the proper platform for us to really be able to support their business in a way that would allow them to succeed. Some people may beg to differ, but that's truly what I believe. So then when we finally did, that's when I went out and I'm like, guys, now we got it. Let's do this. I knew the market that you were targeting. So once we had that, I felt like that was the right time to finally reach out to you and say, hey, I feel confident in our company taking your money at this time because now we're ready to help you succeed.
So we tell anyone that's listening to this for that educational value that you should know what's going on. You should know what matters to who.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 1,000,000%. If you don't talk to them. Like if you don't care about what's going on with the person on the other side of that phone or the person that's across from you, and you're trying to force some sale down their throat or something down their throat, it just doesn't make sense. Every single person that I work with has different needs. Some people may say, okay, yeah, we want to do the trade show just because we want to meet people. Some people say we want to do the trade show because we want to grow our Chinese business, our European business. Some people want to do the show so they can meet showrooms. Some want to meet High Snobiety or GQ. Some just want to use the platform as marketing to make an activation and not even necessarily sell apparel. There's a million different ways to utilize the platform, and if we don't actually understand those before we go into our pitch, if you will, then it's just going to come off flat and not make sense, and it's not going to allow us to properly aid in your success.
I think the best thing about the relationship that we've built is I think you're very good at communicating value. Because I was reading statistics the other day about this retail apocalypse. And so someone who sees me going to these trade shows will be like, you're out of your mind, stores are like closing at record rates. But then just yesterday I read this thing from Shopify, where they were talking about that brick and mortar commerce isn't dead. And they used Kylie Jenner as an example because they handle her store and they handle all of that. And they were saying in general, all customers are looking for now is the opportunity to choose.
Yep.
So when you're looking at a trade show and someone comes up to you and says, I'm not getting into a goddamn trade shows are dead, what do you tell them?
It's, first of all, I don't even, and the rest of my team, we don't even like the word trade show. It's such a bad word these days.
Sure.
Because earlier I referenced that 360-degree experience from the time that you arrive in Vegas or New York until the time that you leave. We program things like breakfast donuts and breakfast mimosas or Bloody Marys or Taco Tuesday, and then events after the show each day, as well as the panel conversations hosted by the likes of Highsnobiety and WGSN, and then getting the barracks involved. It's also an educational platform, so you're able to learn from people on stage. But to go back to the retail thing real quick, hell no, retail is not dead. And when people say that, to me, it's just like, all right, just go lay in your coffin. Clearly you don't want to evolve. Clearly you're not in your store listening to what your customer is telling you or asking you. The stores that are the most time-honored stores in the country and in the world, when I was at Joe's Jeans, I would do road work in 19 different states throughout the country, and I would go to some of these stores that are over 100 years old. And every single one of those stores that are over 100 years old, the one interesting thing that they had in common was that the owner was at their store every day. Wow. That was very interesting to me, because that's the key to success: survival. If you can understand and survive all that time, you're going to be successful. And like there's a few brands on the floor that I work with right now that are also over 100 years old. And during that 100 years, have they been killing it the whole time? Hell no. But they survived. And now one of these brands is having, it's the biggest brand in the world, right? Champion. One of the biggest brands in the world right now. Been around for 100 years. Shit wasn't always good during that 100 years, but they survived. They kept on ticking. They kept on listening to their customer. And additionally, they kept on evolving, whether it be collaborations or going downstream to certain retailers in order to hit goals. And that eventually allowed them to get a Supreme collaboration. So it's just being able to survive, adapt, and evolve. And that's what retailers need to be doing these days too. Like when we go to a store right now, when they greet us with a beer or something like that, I don't know about you, but 9 times out of 10, you hand me a beer in a store, I'm going to buy something. Whether it's $25, $10, $100, $200, I don't know. I'm going to buy something just because I really like that personal service.
It's so crazy you say that, because I was in Paris and I considered Opia first. I still consider it every day. Who am I kidding? But the crazy part is they have this thing called a concept store now. And when you look for rental space, it's not a traditional storefront anymore. Now they'll have like a little bar or whatever. And they literally say it's because people want drinks.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a pop-up next week at Soul Space. And the funny thing is Jeff Pearlstein, the owner, was like, after we do the pop-up, after we do I'm doing a little speaker series, at the end of that he's going to do a happy hour. And it's so funny you say that, because it's like, I feel like alcohol is providing the social lubrication.
Absolutely.
That's giving people an opportunity to just let go and release, you know?
Yep.
So the key to success is survival.
Well, and also you're doing a pop-up with these guys. The most successful retailers that we work with at the show, pre-show, they come to us and they'll ask us things like, which of the brands on your show floor have the ability to effectively activate in our store for in-store events and parties? And so they'll come to the show with their list of, okay, Rad Black Kids, they're able to do an event at our store. That's the kind of stuff that brings in traffic to the store. That's how retailers need to be evolving right now. So they're absolutely on the right track with you guys right now.
You told me this math, and I think in general...
Math. Don't listen to any of the math I told you.
You told me something at the first show, and the first show we did pretty well. So the thing is at that point, like, anyone could have said anything, I would have just been on cloud 9. But you told me that it takes a certain number of shows to get to the position where the brand is just churning out orders and so on. But I think that the real thing that you did is, it's so after LA Men's Mart, that was probably the most down I've been. And I remember a phone call we had where you said to me, you have to think of the value that you got out of LA Men's Mart. You got this writer, Andrew Ash, right, at
WWD.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is he at WWD as well? No, he's at the paper.
Let me see.
Yeah, he's at No, but you told me about Andrew. You told me that, and now Andrew's been a great contact. He's become a friend. He's been a great friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also told me about the pop-up, and you said that this pop-up eventually is going to be something that becomes pretty big. And you know, the most interesting thing about you saying that about people who see someone and say, like, someone can activate in the store, is that I started realizing there was like a reaction after we announced the pop-up. There were stores that had come and made appointments and didn't buy, but have been paying attention. So now when I announced the pop-up, these stores are commenting on the page, they're contacting us. And it seems like it's something where you are right. Like the show floor isn't just for that end-to-end transaction.
Right.
And I think because people are missing that, I think they feel like they're missing what a show is actually about, when in all essence, it's not about just the transaction. A show is just literally about, I think it's being creative, right? I think it's coming up with your own conclusions.
And it's also you being able to show the stores that you are there and ready to partner up with them and support their goals as well.
Wow.
It's not just you shipping product and saying, hey, good luck with the sale. It's you saying, all right, I'm going to back this up. I'm going to come into your store and help you sell this product and shake your customers' hands. Like, people want to meet you. They want to know what you're about. They've been following you. And if they're not following you that yet, they're going to start to follow you after they get a chance to meet you at this store. And at the end of the day, stores want to know that they're being supported as well. Everyone wants that good partnership. And when you're able to show them that you can effectively partner with them and support them, they're going to say, you know what, okay, God forbid something ever goes wrong or whatever it is, I know at least I can trust Tulani because we do have that personal relationship. He came to my store. He does care about me. He wants me to do well. Because if that store doesn't do well, then they're not going to be able to order from you anymore.
That's very true.
So it's just you going there to solidify your relationship with them, and that'll go a long way.
And you know what's so crazy is I'm so excited for this pop-up. It's my first in-store, and weirdly, like I was talking, not weirdly, but I was talking to Jeff this morning, and he was saying, just so you know, we can't make your promotional material. And I was like, that's not a problem at all. Like, look, I'm just happy to be doing this. Like, I get to go to Oakland, get to take the brand to Oakland, get to get it in front of people's eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I get to show it to them. And then on top of that, he was like, we'll do a speaker series so you can talk about it. Look, none of that is a problem.
Right.
I don't see anything bad about that.
Absolutely not.
You know?
Absolutely not.
I have to ask you, though, what is your end goal? Where do you want to be? Do you see yourself staying in this career path? Do you see yourself, like, if you don't mind?
The end goal. Very interesting.
Or let's say the mid-career goal or the late career goal.
I never want to retire, by any means. This is too fun, and like I said, I live for that social interaction, and you don't get that once you've retired. Like, you know what? The end goal, as ridiculous as this sounds, but when it's all said and done, I want to be at the farmers markets just selling oranges. I don't know why, but I just think that's so pleasant. But in order to get there, I have to achieve success on this side. I love this career path, and in doing what I do, the way I see it, the more people that I can help, the better things are going to be. So it's not necessarily do I want to own this? Do I want to own that? No, I don't know where it's going to end. But the way I see it is just help as many people as possible and then see what happens.
You're a really philosophical dude, man.
I never thought that, but...
Well, every time I've always thought about where do I want to be, it's always either a career, a material possession, or rarely about a state of being. Like you're talking about, you developed your career objective based on the principle of being social and the associated joy that comes with it. So you developed your career goals based on two completely abstract ideas that I don't even know how to solidify right now. So that's a hell of a philosophy. I haven't met a lot of people who can say that.
it's and to be honest, I never necessarily thought about it in that way, but is there one material thing that I want to work for? Hell no. I want to make my wife happy. I'm thrilled to welcome a baby girl into the earth in November. So of course I always want to make them happy, but it's not a material possession that, or any type of monetary value that's going to drive me to do my job better. That's not what it is. It's hearing people's success stories that I may work with. That's what's cool as hell. Like Project posted an Instagram
I was
thing
going to bring that up yesterday, and that's real. When I get onto that show floor, and I've been going to these shows since I was 13 years old, and exhibiting there, and my parents would continuously win Best Booth Award at Project. But for me, when I get onto that show floor now, after all of this, we have some stressful days at the office. I'll say that, but the team is absolutely amazing, and we're all there for each other. And when it's all said and done, when we hit that show floor and the brands start arriving, I'm so freaking excited when you guys get to, like, when I get to see how you feel about it. When you walk onto that floor and you're like, okay, this is what I've been preparing for. And there's been multiple times that I'm actually teary-eyed, and I'll have a little moment by myself, and it's just like, wow, I cannot believe that we did this together. This is, it's awe-inspiring what can happen when people work together. And I mean everyone from the ops team to the people at the Mandalay Bay or the Las Vegas Convention Center who rent this space out to us, to the people that sell the food, to the people that register the people to get in the show, to the GES people that construct booths, to you guys who have prepared your designs for the past 6 months, to every single thing. And when you think about all these multiple thousands and thousands of people working together to accomplish one collective goal, that's pretty magical to me. And I love it. What role does gratitude play in your life?
Huge. It's gratitude is something to work for, I would say. When just someone sends you a note after the show, what you always have, when someone sends you a note after the show and thanks you for everything that they accomplished because of any small role that you may have played in that, that's just like, wow, this is why I do this. And for me, after every single show that we have for the past 4 years that I've been at the show, my ops team has always said to me that I'm the only one that sends a personal note to every single one of them to thank them for the specific things that they helped me with. When we're there at the show, that ops team, to me, it's their show. You may not know one person on our ops team, and nor do any of the other brands, but I know for a fact that it's really them who's able to bring these things to fruition that you wanted. Like they're the ones that really construct the whole show. And just so for a little note to them, whether it be 3 or 4 lines of something specific that they helped me with, if that helps them feel good, and I don't know, it's just, gratitude goes a very long way. So I think no matter what, always remember what people actually do for you. And recognize that, because they'll really appreciate it, and I know that it'll go a long way forever. No one forgets when you thank them.
Really?
Yeah.
So gratitude for you is not just the inbound, it's the outbound as well. So
100%. When you thank people and let them know how much you appreciate them, you'll find that your life becomes a lot easier.
Wow. Why would you say?
Well, I would say because you may be in a position just like another person, but that other person may not have expressed gratitude to the person you're trying to get something approved by or put something through. That person that you showed gratitude toward, they're definitely going to want to help you before they help somebody that didn't thank them for their efforts previously.
That's powerful, man.
It's not like it's necessarily a conscious thing. It's just thank people. Appreciate people. Everyone wants to be appreciated. There's been countless studies that have shown people are more grateful for appreciation than even a raise. As a boss, if you pat someone on the back and tell them they're doing a great job, they're going to go home that weekend and be so psyched, and they're going to remember it for a long time to come. Whereas you give someone a raise and it's like, all right, cool, let's go celebrate with drinks for the night, and then it's like back to work the next day. People just remember when you appreciate them. That's what people want.
You know, my grandmother always said this one thing where my mother, that's who I get my gratitude from, is because my mom would always say, because grandma would say, and she would tell me that even if someone gives you, always thank someone. And always thank them from the bottom of your heart, because even if someone gives you a safety pin, they had to think about the fact that you needed a safety pin for them to give it to you. So no matter how small the thing is, people should know how much you appreciate it, because that person could be changing your world, you know?
Absolutely. And you're one of the most gracious people I've probably ever met in my entire life. So I'm happy to have this conversation with you.
I appreciate it, man. All right. No, I mean, I appreciate that, man. It's crazy. I want to say this is one of my favorite conversations, and it is. It's crazy because I think the premise of finding people that you look up to, I think, is a great opportunity to get like real gems of insight and wisdom. Everyone since the first episode has had a quote. Everyone has had a quote where it's like, holy shit, like we're on to something. Success means survival.
It's the key to success is survival.
The key to success is survival. I mean, that's profound, man. Because I remember a time where when I think, and this is my ignorance because I'm not on the other side of the industry, but I remember when Todd Snyder was working with Champion and he was bringing back this heritage champion. At that point, I don't think I was checking for them. You know, like I don't think, and I you know, I consider myself an early adopter. I wouldn't say I'm a laggard or early majority or whatever. But from that point, I remember like now Champion's undeniable. Like you can't do anything without seeing that brand. You can't go anywhere without seeing that brand. Like, yes, they are a heritage brand, but like you said, like, man, like they've now got a position where every season Supreme is dropping at least 2 collaborations with Champion. They're in a position now where they're opening a store and they're showing Champion Europe, like the store on La Brea. There's Champion Europe in there, there's Champion Japan in there. You know, and there's still, it seems like there's no end in sight. And I think that's, a lot of people kind of get that twisted in the journey to making it, is that if you don't make it right out the gate, people will kind of believe that you haven't really made it and maybe it's time to pack in.
Nobody makes it right out the gate. It's does it happen? Sure. Is it long-lived? No. It's a matter of not sleeping and not thinking, oh, I'm the king, I'm here, I'm good, I'm cool. It's just there's been so many. We're the biggest fashion trade show in the world. We also have so much stress that we love to take on, but if we ever just sat there and sat back and be like, we're the biggest, we don't need to evolve, we don't need to do anything else, that's when we die immediately. And to go back a minute, back onto this key to success is survival, we've had conversations about a specific company with a massive order that if they don't take in this order, you could potentially go out of business.
Right.
That is definitely an order that I would personally pass up, because if that happened, then there's no more survival. If you don't take that order, you live to see another day. And that's kind of that's the quote that from when we were talking a few weeks back. I think that's the most important quote in my mind that resonates with that particular conversation.
I think you're completely right, because that advice you gave me, by the way, I think at the end you're the reason why I chose not to do that. And I had a lot of really kind people, Chris Manley, I reached out to him.
Yeah,
he gave me his advice. Yes, yeah. Maddie from The Factor. What company was that? The company that you were.
Hilden.
Yeah. Maddie from Hilden.
Yeah.
He gave me his advice.
Yeah.
You called your dad. Not only did I super appreciate the fact that you asked your dad and you got his time, but then you also made it a point to like really think about it. Then later you even hit me up and told me, hey, someone else had the same issue. This is the reality you might be dealing with.
Yeah.
When I asked that same company for quantities, nothing. And I almost went into production. At the same time that we were talking, I literally almost went into production. And the last email we had in communication was about quantities. Can you imagine if I just gone into production?
Well, don't worry. I'll make sure they'll never attend project again.
I mean, the thing that blows me away, I think, is... And I have to ask you, actually, you know what? Let's backtrack a little bit. So let's just say... Oh, also, I wanted to mention, shout out to Darren K. Because Darren told me some advice on the show floor.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how time sensitive it was going to be. Darren K is a Rothko.
Darren drops gems.
Drops gems. Darren looks at me and he says, the best orders you ever get are the orders you never write.
That's a very interesting way to... That's interesting.
Because
I like that.
I
like that. That's what kept you alive. That's
the thing that kept me going.
Yeah.
That's the thing that kept me going. Just right there. The best orders. And he talked to both of us and he said this. I'm pointing at John, by the way. He talked to both of us and he said, the best orders you'll ever get are the orders you never write. And I remember hearing that and being like, I don't believe that one bit. And then this whole thing happened. So
before we move on from that, I love that Darren in particular said this, because Darren is the one person in my life, the only person that I've ever heard be able to say, I've never had a down quarter. And he's been there for over 12 years. He's in the Rothko book and all that stuff. The only person that said the best orders were the ones you don't write has never had a down quarter. That's interesting.
He said, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, no matter how much you're writing, he's like, even if you want to write me $200,000 and you want like $1 discount, he's like, I'm not giving it to you. He's like, I know my worth. And I was like, damn, dog. Different sides of the world, I guess. That's crazy. Never a down quarter.
Never a down quarter in 12 years.
Whew.
Yeah.
Look, I have to ask you, I want to, not to... maybe synthesize it and program it, but I still want this to be free-flowing. But what quote have you lived your life with?
Oh man,
or even if it's different images.
As simple as it sounds, it's be happy, because if you're not happy, that's going to project onto every single thing that you touch every single day. No one wants to be around someone that's not happy, and the only way to achieve happiness is to do something that you truly love. If you don't love what you're doing, fucking quit. Get out of there. It's not the right place for you. You live one time. Why don't you live doing something that you love? Because the happier you are in your work life, the happier you're going to be in your home life. And I don't know, you're probably looking for something even more profound than that, but that's what it is to me.
It's profound. It's profound. It definitely is, because I think there's this belief that security only comes from a good paycheck. So there's always this correlation, right? If like you make the right amount of money, you're secure enough, then you can weasel out your happiness from there. And as someone with 2 masters, I can tell you that every now and then I'm tempted to that world. I'm drawn into that world.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'll meander onto some website and look at PhD programs. Because every now and then I'll sit there and I'll look at it and I'll be like, hey, you know what? Like, that security that's there seems like it's the key to happiness.
But you already worded it perfectly a second ago. You said weasel into happiness there. When you're weaseling into happiness, you're only tricking yourself by buying that nice car or whatever it is. That's not what's going to make you happy. It's surrounding yourself with good people that will bring you up. That's what makes you happy.
Look, I dropped off the stuff for the next collection. I got fabric. Shout out to Huddersfield Textiles. I got fabric all the way from Thailand. Mm-hmm. And the crazy part to me was the feeling of dropping it off. In my life, with everything that's happened this year, I didn't even expect this year that I'd be dropping off stuff to create my version of suiting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've never thought this day would come.
Yeah.
In my whole life, I never thought it would come. So I remember that day dropping that off and feeling like, holy shit, this is close to euphoria. Mm-hmm. Compared to all the qualifications I have, whatever, this was the closest to that happiness I've felt.
Yeah.
You know? Not even the end product, just knowing it's in.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And that's something that you did, and you worked for it. You did it yourself. John, I know you helped too. But that's something that you just can't take it for granted. That's hard work that paid off. And it also reminds me of when you first got your Rad Black Kids tags. How special that moment was.
It was special, man.
Like to growing up in Zimbabwe, I'm sure having your own tag on something was just unfathomable. And actually, shit, growing up anywhere, having your own branded tag is unfathomable. That's freaking cool.
I don't want to get emotional saying this, but I called to get a re-up on tags the other day.
Hey.
And the homie Lalo from Aesthetic. He's the guy who helped me out with the tags.
Yes.
You know what was crazy, man, is I called to get the tags. Yeah. And I was just trying to see, like, you know, flexible order quantities, see what numbers I wanted. And I found out that they knocked the rate by such a huge percentage because Lalo put it under his own company to get me those tags. Wow. And what makes it even crazier is this. They made a woven tag.
If you don't know Lalo, get to know him.
If you don't know Lalo and Aesthetic, yep. A-S-H-T-E-K. Oh my God, I can't even spell. Aesthetic. A-S-T-H-E. Oh shit, I don't even know I can't spell.
T-I-K.
Okay, excuse my momentary lack of spelling. It's just getting a little emotional here. But I found out that they gave me this massive discount. Mm-hmm. And then I also found out that they rushed the order and they couldn't do it this time. And they did it 3 days before a show. And I managed, 3 days. Yep. I managed to not only pick up the labels, get them on the garments, and have them to the show. And so I just found that out last week. And the crazy thing is I feel like that's a perfect encapsulation of what you do. Because you got all these people onto the same showroom floor who didn't really know each other. And I met Lalo at the first show. Mm-hmm. And the crazy part is, this is now the guy who made that dream happen. Like, you grew up in a place like Zimbabwe, man, you don't get much products. Like, you don't get much of anything. There was this, the reason why I'm into sneakers is because I was watching George of the Jungle, and he picked up this Air More Tempo and he looked at it, and that was the one scene in 1997 that I saw that got me into sneakers.
Wow.
George the Jungle.
Wow. Then Brendan Fraser.
Fraser. And he runs around the corner into these bushes, and he was wearing the More Tempo. And in the world I come from, I never thought I'd have a label with something I've created with my name on it. And I think a lot of that has to come to you, man. So when I say I look up to you, it's because I don't think a lot of where I'd be now would be possible without you. So I think this episode is my gratitude probably to you.
Oh, you know? Man. I look up to you. Every single time I'm in the room with you, you drop knowledge in a perspective that has never been considered by me or other people around. And it's a cool thing. And I think that's what has strengthened the bond between us is I feel like I learn from you every single time we hang out.
It's all an act. I know 5 things.
Join the club.
we can count them out now as we speak. But hey, Brian.
Well, we can throw away these scripts now, right? I'm just kidding.
Hey, I just want to say, man, thank you for taking the time. I hit you up 2 days ago, and you're not only eager, but you're hosting us at your wonderful place. Thanks, man.
Of course.
This really has meant a lot.
Thank you very much. It means even more to me. I appreciate it.
For sure. Okay, we almost left out one of the most critical parts of this whole damn thing. I want you to talk about what you have coming up. I want you to feel free to plug anything that you have going on. This shit is critically important. So let us know. What's up? What's going on? What's happening in the future?
Oh my gosh.
Anything you want to plug, you can do it.
I'll tell you what's happening in the future.
Please.
Sustainability is happening in the future.
Hell yes. Hell yes it is.
It's better late than never that we actually talk about this. And I feel honored, and I feel like it's a luxury to be able to work for a company who's going to allocate resources to get the message of sustainability out there. Props to Informa.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. But the thing that I'm most excited about is seeing my friends and brand partners take part in something that's so important. And teach their followers and their communities about it, because together with the thousands of brands that we work with, they all have thousands and thousands of fans and customers and followers. And so when I talked about achieving a collective goal within the trade show internally, that's so fun. But the big message is what you guys are able to put out and what you guys are able to convey, and it's very exciting that we can really provide this platform and get the message out. And so come July and come August in New York and Vegas, people are going to have an opportunity to hear about what sustainability means to people like you and to people like Champion and the thousands of other brands that we work with. And that sustainability message may not resonate with one brand's customers or another brand's customers, but when you get to put your voice behind it and everyone else gets to put their voices behind it, collectively we're all achieving one goal. And so that's way cool. You're gonna hear this initiative taken on full force from some industry media powerhouses like WGSN, High Snobiety, The Barracks. It's going to be unlike anything you guys have seen before, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it, and I'm thrilled to have you as a part of it.
Thank you for giving us that opportunity. Thanks for being this medium for us to talk about this issue, because more than anything else, I'm a big nerd, and I feel like the catastrophe is too high for the last minutes of this podcast, but really, truly, I know your companies put resources to it. So thanks for giving us brands a chance, man, because I felt like often I've been doing these carbon monitoring things, I've been doing a lot of these sustainable initiatives, and never really had a platform to talk about it, because I didn't really know that I knew it mattered, but I didn't really understand the effect it could have on the end user. So thanks for doing that. I think that'll be great. And also, congratulations. A little baby on the way. Yeah. Hope I can talk about it on the podcast.
Absolutely, man.
I'm super happy, man. Just so you know, I was a live-in nanny once. Also, the name Tulani can be usable for both little boys and little girls.
So wonderful. I'll run it by Lee Marie.
Yeah, so just so we have that out there. Again, man, thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Kintsukuroi. We've been having a lot of fun doing this series. Just so you guys know, please hit the subscribe button. Every subscriber gets us closer to our goal, which is to have as many subscribers as possible. We're trying to do something special, something that hopefully you guys have felt like you've learned something. We're going to take a couple of weeks off again. We're getting ready for various things with the Rad Black Kids. But for now, the credits. Music is brought to you by Basani Gazimbi. Audio production is brought to you by Tulani Gazimbi. Camera work is brought to you by Jonathan Hammer. Thank you so much.